Today, let's talk about relationship in Nigeria, and let us ask ourselves a question: if perhaps marriages or traditional marriages in Nigeria is getting to the end of a new era, and that means some of our traditions would be thrown away, and we are going to start emphasizing and looking into the Western culture, or perhaps Nigerians will create a brand new style of relationship or marriage. And it might be naive for someone not to be able to see it play its role in real time, especially since 2023 and right now 2024, we're moving into 2025. I think it's going to reveal itself more clearer to every single one of us. I, as a person, I am a married man, and I've been married for close to 7 years now. And I have two beautiful children, a male and a female. And I think I'm living a traditional home, which is I have my wife, I have my children, and I've been with my family. More or less, I'm a family man. But I cannot deny the reality of what is happening around me, that there's an end of the old era and there's a beginning of a new era, even while I still decide to keep my traditional home. But this is not about me. This is about us as Africans, as Nigerians. Let's ask ourselves, what has been our thoughts about our traditional life, and how are we saying farewell to the road that our ancestors has actually kept down for us, and we creating a new path for ourselves. And as we proceed, if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe to the channel for more content, like and share. And I would also like to hear your comments after you're done listening to the end of this conversation. I would like to know what your thoughts are about this subject. Welcome to the Man of Thought. We do not need to dive into long discussion about how our ancestors have been living as Africans, but we can look at from the time of our grandparents and our parents, and to most of us who tends to be the millennium, and to the new generation who tends to be Gen Z. And the difference when it comes to the time of our parents, our time, the millenniums, and the Gen Z, we would realize that there are a lot of things that have actually happened. I was born in the 1990s, but I realized that the change and the dynamic of the relationship of Nigerians and Africans has actually changed during the time of our parents. That is, from the 1960s, relationship has actually changed. But it was a little bit difficult for us to see this big change, simply because there were no technology. The dynamics, the dating, the loyalty in relationship, everything has been broken since the time of our parents. And I do not understand what could have been the cause of that change. Most people would argue that it is ever since the time of contraceptions that women have actually changed and men still remain the same. This has been an argument. Some may kind of argue that it is basically because of women's rights, and I think most of it, that is the both of them, that is the contraception and women's rights to vote and equality, everything spring up from the 1960s. And I think the moment that has come in, the dynamics of relationships started changing. In a way, it does not terrify women. In a way, it terrifies men. And some men would tell you that I'm not terrified by the idea that traditional relationship is destroyed. But honestly, men are terrified with the idea that traditional relationship cannot be kept as it used to be, basically because the driving force of every man starts with him creating a relationship and a family at the end of the day. In fact, a lot of people would argue that the success that men are always interested in having is basically to impress their women, because they are built for masculine traits and to be a provider and to be a protector at the same time. And the moment the government begins to work and the women begins to have their rights and all of that, women begin to show the true nature of themselves if they have the opportunity to be equal with men. And ever since then, the dynamic of loyalty in relationship has changed. And I think, in fact, it has gotten to a part whereby apart from the loyalty stand, women have become more or less sexualized in a different aspect. Like, look at what is going on today, look at what was going on during the time of our mothers, and look at the things that are going on specifically just at the moment. You would realize that a lot of discussions, when you see women sit down and they discuss on social media and the rest of it, most women are just in the business of selling sexuality. And the question is this: what else can women offer apart from their sexual path? Now, I understand, and do not misquote or misunderstand, that there are certain women who are different, who talk about education, who are more interested in the society establishment, who are even, maybe they technically produce something, which is actually rare. But some of them have kind of good discussion that can push the society to the right path. But 70 to 80% of them are more or less interested in talking about their sexuality, how they want to be in a relationship, how they want to be able to express sexuality. And that has become one of the biggest discussion when it comes to the women of modern age. And I would think that it is also what has been happening in the time of our parents. The only difference is that we have not seen it clearly, besides the fact that there were no records, there were no TV stations to show these things, there were no social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these things were not born during the time. So, but they were living those lives. And I sat down to be able to look at it from a distance as a child when I was around 8 years old. I think I was 1990. When I was 8 years old, I began to realize what was going on. And I asked myself, even without knowing anything, I realized there was a trending change on how women begin to dress, how women begin to put themselves out. I was studying all these things because I tend to be a reserved, maybe a conservative guy, but I was seeing all these things changing in my life. And I was asking myself, what's going on? Maybe I came from a traditional home. Maybe I have a certain ideology of life. Maybe I was alive in the past and do not take that serious. But it seems like I had an experience of what life used to be. And in the 90s, I was looking at life change in the dynamics at which women are operating. One of the things I can actually say is that I understand, maybe women decide to admit it or not, that the contraception pills that a lot of them take has an effect on their hormones. Many of them would agree to it. Those who are actually educated would agree to it. Most of them would not agree to it. Now, your hormones are part of the things that would affect you psychologically, because if your hormones are not working properly the way nature has actually set it to be, it is going to have an effect on your brain and in your thoughts, simply because when something is going wrong in your body, your brain tries to analyze what is happening in your reality and what is happening within your body, and it wants to feel all right. And so when the hormone changes within most women, they are going to have a mentality of acting out in a certain kind of way. And most men would agree that women became strange in a way whereby some of them will consider it like they are no more submissive. Most of them, it's not about the idea of just submissive. Most of them have become combative. And besides, the society policies then supports a lot of the women to be able to stand and say, oh, we can be combative with the men, rather than them to become more supportive with the men, or we should the same things, ways to work eye to eye, one-on-one together, regardless of the fact that as human is concerned, there's always going to be a dispute between us. But in reality, it seems as if it is now about the exchange of power. And when you hear a lot of women speak, most of them are all interested in the right of a woman, the power of a woman, and how to charge people to court and the rest of it. But in the African dynamics, in Nigeria specifically, in the relationship, ours are not going towards that direction, simply because there is still the union of family. But right now we can see most of all these things break down in real time. And now the question is, what is influencing the Nigerian culture or traditional marriage way of doing things? Because I asked myself a question. I said, if I wasn't married at this particular stage, is there a possibility I would have even loved to be married at all? And I think most men would also share the same idea, even regardless of the fact that some of us are living in a traditional home, some of us are seeing things that are happening, and we ask ourselves, is this ever possible for us to leave whatever we have traditionally? Perhaps anything happened, and do we think there's a possibility for us to go into any relationship that is serious and we want to get something different and create or establish the same traditional home? I think it's going to be a question, and it's going to be problematic to us. And I believe that one of the facts is that there has been a lot of influence from the Western culture into the African society and into our relationship dynamics. It's funny so much at the moment that you go on TikTok and you see a lot of older women from the Western culture looking for younger men in Nigeria that they actually want to get married to. And sometimes when I look at it, I kind of smile. I laugh to me because it looks very funny. I laugh in a sense like most of those old women do not even understand what Nigerian men are made of. And maybe they think that they can subdue an African Nigerian man specifically to be what they want it to be, the ideal relationship they want. And the only thing they have that has been the advantage to be able to get the men has always been the fact that they have money. And trust me, I have also been on the receiving end of it, whereby I've had a lot of women from the Western culture who have kind of proposed to me, and one of the things they try to set, and I see it play role in real life when they tell me that if you get married to me, I'm going to take care of your children and your wife. If you get married to me, we are going to, every of my inheritance, every of my money, every of the things I've worked for, you are going to be able to tap and have into it, and that means you're going to be having a generational wealth. I have seen these offers come in about 4 times in my life, even while I am married. And I begin to ask myself, I am not one who likes to put myself out for dating, and regardless of the fact that I am not putting myself out for dating, and I always make it known to people that I am married and I have 2 kids and I'm a traditional man and I have almost everything, not everything I want, but specifically the things I need as a Nigerian African traditional man to live my life, and I'm only striving to have more, yet I have offers from women who are in the Western culture. And I ask myself, what about the Nigerian guys who are putting themselves out there to see if a lady is going to date them? How many offers would these guys be truly having at this moment of their life? Because it is much. And I, as a person, knows that maybe my looks is kind of a very average type, and I'm not trying to be seductive to anybody. I'm just the real African person that I need to be, and yet I have these things. What about the guys who are handsome, taller, who does their skincare and all those kind of stuff, cuts their hair almost every single day? What kind of offers would these guys be having? And I can see this in real time, which I feel that it is becoming a threat to our women in Nigeria. Some of them have not seen it right now as a threat. Some of them see it like, oh, yes, my husband can go marry somebody. Some of them will be like, who cares? There are many men who are going to approach me. But in reality, what is actually playing out, like I gave an example of something that actually happened when I was in jail this year. Arkview Investment Limited, a real estate organization in 314 Ikorodu Road, when they lay false allegation after I bought property from them, and they lay false allegation on me at Ikoyi Federal High Court. This particular real estate organization, when I found myself in jail, I realized that a lot of women are even married, are seeking relationship from boys or men in the prison. So that means that these things are beginning to pull out itself. And it is very funny that the same thing that is happening within the Black Western culture is the same thing that is kind of reflecting itself in the African culture and tradition. Slowly but surely, it is becoming more apparent, if you can see it clearly, that most white men are not coming to date the African woman. Are there exceptions to the rules? Yes, I have seen some few white men date black people. And when we're talking about white, I think we are talking about the Western people. I'm not talking about those who are getting from the Lebanese and all this Arab, and you think because they are fair in complexion that means they are white people. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real white people. Now, looking at it also from the Black Americans, the Black American men are not dating the Black American women. Some of them are having relationship issues. Now, you have to be on the public side to have these conversations, and they can trust you, and you can have the serious conversation to know exactly the fact that what I'm saying is absolutely true. I'm not saying there are no ones that have traditional homes or things that are going fine in many relationships, but I'm saying that to majority, they are having issues with their men. Now, the same thing is happening that most Nigerian men, some of them are more interested in just using their women as an object and having serious relationship. And I don't know if it will be a serious relationship, but an investing relationship with the white or the Black American women at this junction. Which I sometimes give a little bit of advice to the black men, and I say, hey, if you want to date the white woman, make sure you are not dating the one that has guns. Make sure you're not dating a black woman also in the Western culture that has gone. The reason is basically, for me, in a sense that a white woman or a black person in the Western culture who has gone simply shows that that woman is not protected by the men in the society. And so they have thought of defending themselves. And a woman who have learned to defend herself would always learn to be an aggressive person. Besides, knowing fully well about the contraception, majority of them have used it. It is in fact impossible to see a woman who has not used contraception in the Western culture. And if I'm lying, anyone can debate it with me. And so that means there's an hormonal change. An hormonal change simply means hormonal imbalance. And an hormonal imbalance, someone who has an hormonal imbalance can be upset. And when they try to defend, they can be very aggressive. And you understand that the laws does not support you as the African man. The laws support them as the Western people, because in their side, they are already living in matriarchy society, but they talk about and they still complain about the patriarchy society. Now, back to the aspect of relationship, we will hold it on at the moment. From what I've said so far, what do you think about it? Put it in the comments. Talk to me about what I have analyzed right now before I upload the part 2 and we start and we go into a deeper conversation about the African relationship. Where do you think our relationship is actually going before I analyze more? If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, like and share. This is the Man of Thought, aka the Villain of Truth. Hope to see you in the next one. Adios, amigos.